This is Sportscentre.
Hey, I'm Marissa Roberto on the Digital Sportscentre presented by Montana's Barbecue and Bar. And it's a huge one tonight as the Habs are in the U.S. Capitol for Game 1 of their first round series against Washington. For Montreal, this is their first playoff game since losing the Stanley Cup Final to Tampa back in 2021. But before we dive into tonight's game, let's just focus on how big of a turnaround this season was for the Habs, and how no matter what happens in round 1, it's already been a success. Their preseason point total on FanDuel was 77.5, which they blew out of the water with 91 points. Mid-December, they were last in the conference, and after the deadline, they were 5-1 to make the playoffs. So once again, let's just appreciate that they even got in. Again, I am extremely happy for my Habs fan friends. I know that we're supposed to be blood enemies, but I just want the best for you, you know? But winning the series is a completely different milestone, as the Caps are the best team in the Eastern Conference, and are heavy favorites to advance to round 2 on FanDuel at -265. And this is the Caps team that seems pretty primed for a cup run. The key to that is obviously the play of Alex Ovechkin. Almost lost in all the Gretzky record talk was just how crazy his season was. He scored 44 goals, the most since his 21-22 season. But the fact that he did that in just 65 games is even crazier. That's a 0.68 goals per game clip, which is actually the 5th highest rate of his career. So it's kind of like we're seeing peak Ovechkin here. Now this seems crazy to say, but he might not even be the most important Russian in this series, as that could be Ivan Demidov. Sure, he's only played 2 career games, but those 2 games definitely had some magic. I just love this Russian on Russian action. This is exciting. And to add a little more fuel to Game 1 fire, Demidov said earlier today that he was more a Malkin guy than an Ovechkin guy.
Ovechkin, was he one of your idols growing up?
Probably in the childhood only, but I had a much better. I love Malkin much better than Ovi, you know what I mean, like. But no, I haven't. The idol.
Like when I was a kid and didn't know any better, sure. Well, that's kind of shady. I like it. The Edmonton Oilers start their playoff journey tonight against their most familiar opponent, the LA Kings. This is the 4th straight playoff matchup between these 2 teams. And while the Oilers took care of business in the previous 3, this one could be a little different, mainly because the Kings have home ice. And they were the NHL's best home team all season, going 31-6-4. And closing out their season by winning their last 12 of 15 games at Crypto.com Arena, including a 3-0 win over Edmonton just a few weeks ago. Now, in all fairness to the Oilers, playing in LA hasn't really been a struggle for them, as they were 6-2 over the last 3 playoff runs in LA, thanks largely to incredible performances from McDavid and Draisaitl. I mean, just look at those numbers. But this year feels different. One, Edmonton's a little short-handed, but the mojo just seems to be a little off when it comes to the Oilers. So the tides seem and feel like it could be turning, okay? The Jets are also back in action tonight, as they're hosting the Blues for Game 2 of their series in Winnipeg. The opener for Game 1 was a thriller if you didn't already have your eardrums ringing from Jesse screaming, as the Jets made an unreal comeback. And they'll need to bring that momentum into tonight's game. History tells us that Game 2s have been a make or break game for Winnipeg. In their previous 9 playoff series, the Jets have won the opening game on 5 occasions. Now, in the 2 instances where they followed a Game 1 victory with another win, they went on to win the series pretty decisively. However, every time they followed that Game 1 victory with a loss, they failed to win another game and lost the series in 5. So yeah, tonight could be pretty telling. Especially because that second scenario was how their seasons ended the last 2 years. But even with their struggles in Game 2s of late, Jets fans should be feeling good entering tonight's game, largely because of their goaltending. It took a pretty uncharacteristically poor game from Connor Hellebuyck to make Game 1 close, as he allowed 3 goals on 17 shots. In fact, that save percentage was the second lowest for the entire season. But even with those struggles, the Jets still won. Considering how dominant he's been all season, it's hard to imagine he'll have struggles like that again in Game 2. To the association, while the first 2 games of the NBA playoffs didn't give us too many gems, my god, did we get an absolute banger from the Clippers and Nuggets. We can only hope for more fireworks tonight in Game 2. And an OT thriller featuring the best player in the world, as well as a healthy Kawhi Leonard. Let's start where you'd expect, a great Jeff Van Gundy video, because my god, look at that strength. Why is he doing that? And you just know we gotta throw it back to that famous Knicks Heat brawl of '98, because it seems that Jeff Van Gundy has only gotten stronger since that iconic moment. And that has to be hands down one of my producer Chris's favorite playoff moments. You can find him on Basketball Island. If the Clippers are gonna get back into the series though, they will need better from Kawhi. He was fine in Game 1, but those 7 turnovers are ugly. And while Jokic filled it up for the Nuggets, it was still far from his best. Yeah, I understand how crazy I sound when we see those stats, but it still wasn't peak Jokic, and hopefully we see that tonight. But now on to the best part of Game 1, and that was this tweet, which said, Russell Westbrook truly is the item box from Mario Kart. And then credit to this fan for making this unreal mashup.
Brown for the lead! No! Westbrook, yes! There. Westbrook! See, here we go. Jokic takes the 3, dishes. Westbrook serves it
Yeah, friendly reminder, those item boxes are random. You can watch Game 2 between the Clippers and Nuggets tonight on TSN. Coverage begins at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. But before that is the Knicks and Pistons at 7 Eastern. Before we go, let's just chat Leafs real quick. And what a night it truly was, 21 years to the day of the last Battle of Ontario. So let's relive Game 1 now in the latest edition of Roberto on the Go. Here we go.
Round 1, Game 1, and we got Senators fans? Are you guys kidding?
Why are these guys dressed the exact same? Even their shoes.
I knew I love to spend my money on playoff tickets.
Now, it's not easy to find a dirty martini at Scotiabank
Luckily, I
Arena.
used to work in this platinum restaurant, so I got myself one. Saw a few familiar faces.
Went up to the 300 level, and now we're locked in.
One thing about me is I love olives, and I promised myself I would not have one until the Leafs scored, and luckily, they scored a lot.
I feel like we can get food now. Buffalo chicken wrap. We're still back.
There's the Sens fan I put a little bar down. I guess he got a couple goals to be excited about, but not as much as the Leafs did.
The game ended in the most hilarious way with the most penalties I've ever heard. What a way to set the tone for Game 1. The moral of the story is olives are amazing. That's it for me today. We'll start again tomorrow at 3 Eastern. No Pacific. Have a good one.